Now this was the age of Milton, which started from 1625 and ended in 1660. The principal feature of the age of Milton is the growth of Puritanism as a moral and social force. The descendants of Wycliffe and Lollards advocated very strict views concerning life and conduct and were called Puritans. During the reign of James I, Puritanism emerged as a great national power. After the Civil War, it triumphed with the triumph of Oliver Cromwell. The influence of Puritanism upon the English life and throughout it was profound. The moral and religious influences of Puritanism are combined with the spirit of Renaissance. The spirit of Renaissance still lingered in this period. Milton was born in Braid Street, Cheapside, London on the 9th of December 1608. He was educated at St. Paul's School and at Christ's College, Cambridge. His books had kept him out of bed till midnight. He had shown untiring devotion to learning. Milton thus became a very great scholar. His Paradise Lost was published in 1667. Paradise Regained and Samson Agonistes in 1671. Milton died on the 8th of November 1674. Milton's works fall into four periods. The college period, closing with the end of the Cambridge career on 1632. The Horton period, closing with his departure for the continent in 1638. The period of his prose writings from 1640 to 1660, and the late poetic period or period of his greatest achievement. In Paradise Lost, Milton produced the greatest English poem. In this masterpiece, he revealed his intellectual energy and creative power. The inspiration and the subject matter of the poem, coming from Milton's Puritanism, insists on eternal providence and justify the ways of God to man. In Paradise Lost, Milton set forth the revolt of Satan against God, the war in heaven, the fall of the rebel angels, and the creation of the world. Not only of the world, but of the man. His temptation, the temptation of Eve and Adam, and their expulsion from Eden, Garden of Eden. He introduces the divine work of redemption also in Paradise Lost. The, the dramatic poem Samson Agonistes crown the labors of his closing years. In Paradise Lost, Milton applies the principles of Greek tragedy. The higher the hero, the greater the fall. Let's talk about the characteristics of Milton's poetry. After Shakespeare, Milton is the greatest English poet. In him, we have a wonderful union of intellectual power and creative power. He is the most sublime of English poets. The grand style, the majesty of thought, and the majesty of diction. He is unrivaled in these things. His descriptive power is excellent. In the opening books of Paradise Lost, the debate in the Council of the Fallen Angels shows Milton's extraordinary insight into the motive and character. There is an intensity of individuality throughout the poem. In the technical side of his poetry, his great beauty of style and versification are noteworthy. Milton remains our greatest master. Now, let's talk about the Caroline poets. Under the term Caroline poets, we can include a number of verse writers. In the reign of Charles I, Caroline. Some of them were secular poets and some of them were religious poets. First of all, let's talk about Robert Herrick. The most important of the Caroline poets is Robert Herrick. He was deprived of his wealth during Civil War. His religious poetry was published under the title Noble Numbers, and his secular poems were published under the title Hesperides. His power of writing poetry was shown at their best in Hesperides. It comprises fairy poems, occasional poems, and love poems. They are delightful in their lyrical charm and grace. He detached himself from the political interests of the hour, and he preferred to sing of the joys of life.